Namaskar. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Indian AdGeek. This is episode number 9, and I so want to rhyme that by saying, I'm looking so fine, but to quote John Cena, you can't see me. And now that I've done my fair share of fooling around, my name is Vishal Mehra. Today, we are sitting down with someone who has decided to trade courtroom battles for campaign wars. Meet Anita Kotwani, the Chief Client Officer at Dentsu South Asia, who's proving that the best media strategies might just come from someone who never planned to be in media at all. Anita is not just running another agency division, she's orchestrating Dentsu's most ambitious integration experiment yet, bringing together creative, media, and CXM under one roof while chasing an audacious target of generating 50% of Dentsu's business from customer experience management by 2026. Think of her as the conductor of a very complex orchestra where every instrument speaks a different business language. So, without further ado, let's welcome the multiple award winning Anita Kotwani. Welcome to the Indian AdGeek.
Thank you, Vishal. It's a pleasure being here.
Anita, what drew you from law into the world of advertising?
To be very honest, Vishal, my move to advertising was not planned at all. It's absolutely accidental more than a strategy. I graduated in law. But the lure of the advertising industry, the vibrant, playground that it allows you to build your curiosity and my love for learning. That's what got me excited into the industry. And then I had my very close friend, my brother's very close friend, Sandeep Nagpal, who used to be a leading media consultant in them days. He was the one who actually introduced me to this industry. I think he painstakingly took the effort of making me learn the fundamentals of media planning and buying. And since I'd never done that before and, only had law as a background, but I think what he taught me was to argue my case well enough in front of the client to get them to, do the business the way we've recommended. And the energy, the pace of this industry, the opportunity to create stories for brands and people. Once I got into it, I never looked back. It just felt like a calling card for me. And I've been fortunate, I'll tell you, throughout the, more than plus 2 decades of experience here, with having mentors and bosses who really believed in nurturing the talent, giving you an opportunity to learn. They shared their knowledge generously. So for me, the excitement was of being challenged, not getting too comfortable. And at every point of time when I got elevated into my role, I moved out of that comfort zone to doing something new.
Fantastic. Plus 2 decades, like you said. Walk us through your evolution from handling manual media formulas at the start of your career to now leading digital first transformation. What's been the most dramatic shift you have witnessed?
So I think in the earlier days when we used to do media and media planning, you're right, it was all about manual formulas, endless Excel sheets. For every impression that we bought, we had to create the plan painstakingly, very little room for making any errors. We were measured by how well we could negotiate the rates a lot more, strategize, and more importantly, at that point of time, the flawless execution at a granular level was extremely important. And what is the most dramatic, shift that I see today is really, like you said, the space of digital transformation that we're all going through. Today, we're not talking reach and frequency, right? We're talking about understanding consumer, deploying data, deploying technology, and creativity all in real time. Today, the conversations are around omni-channel. They're around journey-based planning. So the full funnel marketing story is coming up. And we also talk about moment marketing, right? The fluidity with which consumers are moving from one platform to the other. And how do you capitalize on that moment and create a campaign? So it's really not about a 6 month or an 8 week campaign, but it is, can a campaign be for 3 or 4 days as well? If there is a trigger or cultural trigger that has taken place, how do you kind of activate it for a brand and business in an interesting manner? And I think the biggest change that we are seeing, of course, is the AI powered stories that we are talking about today. So it is technology. data, I think they've become the heart of what we really land up doing. And this function, which, previously when I started my career was always backroom, we had the creative folks doing all their presentations and media would get like 5 or 10, minutes to kind of present it. Today, we are more strategic, we are more measurable, and we are the direct drivers of business growth. So today, the teams are multidisciplinary. We're merging creative, tech, commerce, CX all together. So I've actually witnessed this, the shift from cost efficiency to driving meaningful, measurable impact for business outcomes. And I stay grounded in this one belief that, whatever you pull out finally, strategy without executing that is really hallucination. And execution, even today, plays an extremely important part. So for me, if I had to sum that up, it's around the manual moving to magical, leveraging innovation to deliver not just campaigns but experiences, and not just for brands but genuinely things that motivate people. And I think that's the most fulfilling part of this change that I see.
Right. You started by saying reach and frequency maybe is not as important today as it used to be. Do you feel it's not important for clients?
So I'm not saying they're not important for clients, but I'm saying the metrics have moved beyond that, right? It is around engagement, it's around your CTRs, it's around attentive seconds that you're getting in. So you've progressed from the reach and frequency story to get to a lot more intuitive, granular metrics, which not only drive consumer mind metrics, but they also drive measurable business outcomes. So that's the shift that I'm seeing. So yes, at a top of the level, reach frequency will of course be important. Mid and bottom, there are different matrices that you work in with, and that's the change that I'm seeing.
Okay, got it. You've held leadership roles at Mindshare, at Carat, and now Dentsu. How have these experiences shaped your approach to client partnerships today?
My shift to Mindshare was when I moved out of Initiative Media when they globally won their HSBC business in 2004, right? So I went in to lead the first time a larger global, account across multiple markets. And that is what interested me when I moved into WPP, working in with a larger global client. With Mindshare, when I worked in, what I really saw was true partnership, which was rooted in deep listening and understanding, not just of the media plans, but of the client's businesses as well. My opportunity to learn, on some of the best Indian brands in them days was fantastic. I mean, I take great pride in, launching the DNA campaign in them days, which was one of the, talking campaigns, during that time of the, speak up, it's in your DNA, from DNA taking on Times of India. I just felt the way we were able to craft that campaign into a larger marketing initiative program, if I may call it that, was great in terms of experiences. The other thing that WPP and Mindshare really taught me was understanding the business of the advertising agency. So despite you working on a couple of big clients, you had to look at your profitability. You had to see whether the client and your business is making money. Yes, the client gets the delivery that he needs, but as an agency, are we also kind of making revenues out of that client? Because at the end, we're also in the business of making money. So a lot of my orientation on business understanding happened within Mindshare as I progressed in my career there. And when I moved to, Kara, it was almost an inflection point because I was, let's say, one level below a CEO position when I was at Mindshare. And Kara gave me this opportunity to saying, yes, now you can, run the ship. You can go in and you can take that forward. So for me, that was the inflection point. The excitement was about getting the CEO position. It was about, supporting and, complementing a CEO previously to today saying, I have the baton in my hand. I have this ship. I need to run it myself. And I needed to pivot it, right? Because Carat, when I joined, was a fantastic brand, globally, which really inspired me to join Dentsu at that point of time. But it had lost a little bit of its sheen in India. So we needed to resurrect the brand here. And I took that as a challenge for me, saying, can I, as Anita, pivot a brand and bring it back its glory, which I see in other markets. So that was the interesting part that I learned in Carat. I remember at one point of time, literally doing about, 50 to 100 presentations to clients before we started even closing a few, right? But that tenacity with which we went on finally got us to really convert few large size businesses 2 years, 3 years down the line. And it was really around saying, how did I drive like 5x the growth of Carat of what we did when we started? So that became a great experience for me to move into saying, okay, she's done a fantastic work with Kara. Can we give her more of the media brands to kind of work and pivot on? And that's when I took on the role of the media practice within Kara. So that I did not only manage Kara, I had Dentsu X, I had iPro, I had Posterscope, Socrati, a lot of the other brands to try and, bring the momentum back into the business. So when I did that, the learning over there was, again, it's really around getting the structure right, getting the story of the entire business, how we want to structure and pivot it in a different way so that we are ready on how a new agency of the future should look at. That's what I worked in when I was setting up the entire media practice for Dentsu. uh, I personally feel very proud about the fact that we had it, structured in a way which I felt will, drive success for us. And today, when I sit in again a next avatar of my role at Dentsu, which is a chief client officer, it's really around saying, Anita, you did enough on Kara, you did great on the media practice, diversification as well. Can we, because of the ability to drive, client stakeholder relationships, going up to the C-suite and having, strategic conversations, immersing myself on their businesses, I felt, this role will give me two things. One, opportunity to move beyond media. It's been my comfort zone for the last 2 decades. And getting into creative, getting into CXM was something which excited me at a personal level, because I genuinely feel as leaders, you need to keep getting stimulated to say, what next? What next are you going to do? What's the new learning that you're going to, craft and drive? And hence, with this new role, I had the, you know, experience of not only launching a few new practices like we did with a retail practice in Dentsu. I also got the opportunity to, get some depth of understanding on customer experience management, a lot in the technology space, which I had not done earlier on. So that gave me, great, impetus to learn further. And creative was again something which I had never really, worked in closely with. So this integrated way of working, where you are leading a larger client mandate, but you have these domain specializations that you really need to activate for the client to ensure that we drive his business impact. This is the latest role that I'm doing, Vishal. And this is one where I think we've traversed some amount of journey, but there is a lot more that we really need to get to, because intuitively you were always siloed, right? There's media, there's creative, and then there's CXM. And then when you want to integrate it, it is that difficult, right? It's not about the domain specialization that you have, but it's a cultural shift that you want to do with your people to saying collaboration is key.
Yeah, I can certainly understand integration challenges. We will talk about some of those new practices, Anita. Your mandate now extends across creative, media, and CXM. You're expanding into business transformation, into retail and commerce. I'm just keen to know, how are you orchestrating this integrated approach? What's the biggest challenge in breaking down those barriers, those silos between creative, media, and customer experience? How do you tackle that?
See, we embrace the one Dentsu approach. We said we are one organization with creating cross-functional client teams that are going to, come together to drive creative ideation, commerce innovation, advanced analytics, and world-class execution. Right? We were saying this is not about, building a media plan. It's really about creating connected brand experiences end to end. Right? We try to we have I won't say we tried we've positioned ourselves as a marketing into tech into consulting space, And we feel we are uniquely, positioned to drive this because it's driven at the core with people-centered transformation, which creates impact. And when I'm saying people-centered transformation, it's not about the domain and practices that you've launched, but it's also about the talent transformation that needs to go hand in hand with it so that you're able to deliver to your clients. So, like I mentioned to you, Vishal, the real challenge is really around breaking down the silos, not from a structure point of view, because that's a design, right? That's something that you've created and you wanted to kind of pull that. It's more cultural in nature. It requires a shift in mindset. Every team member needs to see value in the collaboration, and he needs to believe that the best solutions are not coming in isolation. It's coming together when we work together as a team. And I feel true integration only happens when, the strategy that you pull together and the execution that you need to do on that strategy, they work in harmony. And hence, for me, the very important part of saying break down silos, co create plans, work in as one team, and get one leader who can orchestrate this entire integration process is something which is very integral. And we've changed our structure to pivot that, right? We have integrated client leaders who actually drive this larger orchestration. That's their core job. Then you have integrated strategists who really need to work in to understand the businesses and give you integrated, solutions. And I'll say two most important skill sets that I see today in the industry. One is the integrated client leader who can orchestrate across disciplines. The other is the integrated strategist, because today it's about business strategy, com strategy, media strategy, content strategy, social strategy, perf strategy, commerce strategy. So you can see the width of expansion of specialization that is happening, and to have a person or a skill set that can drive that thinking, that when that happens, I think you'll see transformation across a lot of the work that the agencies are pulling in today.
You mentioned different strategies right now that the integrated strategist and the client leader needs to take care of. Do you think a generalist approach works better in those scenarios, or is it still specialists that are required in certain areas?
We used to previously, Vishal, talk about the T story, right? There's one vertical specialization that you have, and the generalist cuts across that T and gets depth of knowledge across. I think today that T is somewhere moved to a pie or maybe a three-line figure, if I may call it that, right? Because today, if you're that one single line saying, I have core experience over here only, it's not enough. You need to try and expand that T to couple of lines more, saying I can also do two or three more things today. That's fundamentally that you really need to know. Then the domain specialization, because of the depth with which you will need to understand, will always be needed. What is needed for the generalist to do is it can't be the superficial generalist. He has to go to at least mid depth for him to have those strategic conversations with the clients. And when you go to the absolute granularity of that depth, where you need the tech guy to come and tell you how you're going to solve for it, or you need the system fellow to saying, how can I integrate that too? I think that knowledge the client leader may not necessarily have. But the fact that I'm aware that this is something that I can do, that and how we do it is something that we train the client leaders on. So they are not the generalist purely. I'll say they've submerged themselves into a layer below as well to start driving a lot of client conversations.
I've read how Harsh Razdan has set an ambitious target of generating 50% of Dentsu's business from CX by 2026. What's your roadmap to achieve it?
I think this vision that Harsh has set up for us is deeply rooted again in a global Dentsu one philosophy, right? We are one Dentsu at a larger level. And we're talking about collaboration between creative media, CXM. We're also looking at collaborations across our new capabilities that we have created, whether it's commerce, whether it's retail, whether it's technology. All of these are game-changing practices that we are bringing into the country. So our roadmap is really about breaking down the silos, fostering what we call specifically for India Dentsu Bharat, which is our India story for us, where we are leveraging our, expertise to deliver integrated client-centric solutions. And core to that, I'll say in bold is that truly drive and transform clients' businesses. Because if I'm immersed and understand the client's businesses very well, I am able to then have very rich conversations with the clients. So we are, like I said, we are investing very heavily in upskilling our teams. We are also acquiring specialized talent, because you understand these kind of talent was not something previously in a media and creative agency that you will see. So
So
people,
what specific capabilities are you building in terms of those senior hires and that talent you were just saying?
so a lot is there in the technology space, a lot in the artificial intelligence space, a lot in, conversational AI, system integrations, cloud expertise. All of those are stuff that we're really getting into. We're not only looking at saying these are services that we will provide, but we will provide them with bringing in talent which has expertise in that. So I'll just give you an example. We've hired, a BFSI specialist, right? He comes in with, honing the entire understanding of the sectoral experience that you need to craft higher order conversations with our clients. So we have Hemant who does that for us specifically for the BFSI clients. And the reason we hired him is because the pool of clients that Dentsu has, we have a strong play in the BFSI category. So we are able to kind of add a lot more business conversations and transformations over there. And you will see the game plan within this sector, right? Whether it's the banking client, a lot on the first party data, a lot of the lead generation, the entire customer experience or story. How do you kind of nurture their, the CXM, tools there? How do they integrate between, their systems and our systems to kind of pull the entire story together? I think those kind of services are really helping us perform very, very well for our clients. So that's where we are seeing a lot of differences. And I think the other part I'll say is really around, if I had to craft out saying what will be the 3 or 4 things that we'll do to build this, this Dentsu into the CXM practice story. It's really around, there's a customer and tech build, right? So I want to help clients create value, both not only for customers and society, but I want to do that with responsible technology and driven solutions. Similarly, when I launched, Dentsu Lab, which is our innovation engine, it was to test, refine, and scale our AI solutions. We wanted to apply an R&D lens to technology and human behavior. And we really looked at saying, can we do design experiences that perform and move people, which is right up from, being aware of the brand to actually going and buying that particular brand. So the focus areas has been, like I mentioned, conversational AI, there's voice and audio technologies that we've got into, personalization at scale. How do you build loyalty programs for brands and businesses, and how do you enhance their e-commerce offering? And I think one core important part that is really there is the creative-led, tech-driven approach. So we work in with a lot of startup clients. We're looking at lots of new solutions that we can build together with them. They are tech-driven. They're replacing ease of trying to get the consumers to be very comfortable when they are interacting with a brand. So a lot of the tech integrations are more around saying, can the consumer journey be frictionless? And in that, how do I build that?
Possible to share any example of that, Anita, what you were just talking about? Any example?
So we've done some amount of work on loyalty for a certain set of brands to figure out if you have a set of, loyal customers, how are you going to ensure that, you're able to enhance the customer lifetime value with the loyalty card, right? So there is somebody who's coming into you, regularly coming and shopping and you're giving him points. How can I interact and get him to get more activated and be more loyal to me using technology, using data, and trying to build that further? So we've seen in certain set of cases where we've done the loyalty programming, delta shifts, which are fairly, larger in terms of numbers. Similarly, with another particular client where we looked at, we said we created the CDP for them. We said, give it to us, we'll be able to manage it. So right up from data harmonization, as in because it's unstructured, structured data. So you harmonize the data, which is the first part of what you'll end up doing. Then you say, okay, now that I've cleaned up the data, let me put it into that system. That system needs to start talking to the other technology integrated pieces that you want to do. For example, if there's a CDP with the customer data, there is media, there's execution that is happening. How do you link that intuitively so that you know which of your segment cohort gave you what kind of results, and then how do you tweak the media investments and get the optimization going. So a lot in that space is something that we have done, Vishal.
A lot of what you were just saying is traditionally work of a consulting organization, a consulting firm. How does Dentsu's CXM practice differentiates itself from traditional consulting firms that all of us have known for many, many years, particularly when competing against the big four for transformation projects? How would Dentsu differentiate itself?
So I'm going to be very honest. Dentsu is not the McKinsey or the Accentures where client is immediately going to come and saying, here is a large size consulting project and I want you to kind of work on it, right? But hand on heart, when we've gone in, even when the big flow are there in the race, some of them we've kind of converted. And I'll tell you why we managed to convert that as well, right? First thing was saying, if we are going to give differentiation in the market, then the talent that we are going to bring into our fold to talk that language are going to be from the big four. So we do have few set of people who've come in from there to try and build the value that's saying, yes, the organization is different, but organization is built around people and talent and what they deliver. And here are a bunch of talent pool that do come in from those reputed organizations, but are adding value today to us. So talent for us is the game in India. We are focused on bringing right skills across commerce, across data, ad tech, martech, analytics, and even cloud services. So I have expertise bought in from each of those verticals where I could add depth. The other part which really worked very well for us out of the big four was the play is around the efficiency. I will, for me to, pull out the kind of monies or get the kind of value what, let's say, McKinsey and Accenture will get, maybe tad difficult. So when a partner comes to me, I ensure that my pricing competitiveness for the value I give back to the client is far, far superior, far, far superior. So he gets immense amount of value. He also gets, skin in the game where we say, this is the work we've done. This is what we feel will give you the business outcome, and we are willing to put the skin in our game and saying if that outcome is not deliverable, penalize us, no problem. We are willing to take your business impact, your business outcome conversation into our recommendations, and a part of our our revenue is tied up to the impact that we drive on that particular business. So that's the other part that we've been able to do very, very well. The third part, which really comes to me very easily, which I feel works in our favor, is when you go to the big four consultancies, if you understand they're very strong on strategic recommendations, but they don't execute the entire piece, right? They will give you a blueprint, not necessarily execute the entire piece. But when you come to us as an agency, not only do I stitch up what the strategic blueprint is going to be, but I'm also going to be able to execute it to the end level, going right up to the consumer to ensuring whether that delta sale happened or not. I'm not saying, the consultancy firms are not getting into the execution side as well. They're of course trying to figure out whether there's a buyout that they'd like to do, because they've also realized that this story of only this is not going to work. But they also need to saying, I've shown you the strategy. This is how I'll execute it for you, and hence this is the result. So I think we win over there, where we take the end-to-end game for a client, and that's where we've been able to win some, really cool projects on consulting as well.
Very interesting. So many people have spoken about these big consultancies getting into our business. They often speak about how consultancies have an edge as far as boardroom access, the C suite access is concerned. But hopefully, advertising and creative agencies will retain an edge as far as creativity is concerned. But like you mentioned earlier, too many M&As in the sector, and sometimes they are building up their own organic capabilities as well, sometimes through acquisitions. Accenture is a popular example of that. So it's an interesting time.
Vishal, one more thing, which is a dimension which I think we need to see today, is the C suite or the CEO access, which creative folks earlier on had today. The stakeholders at the client side today are also a lot more, right? I'm talking to the CIO, I'm talking to the CDO, I'm talking to the CTO, then I'm talking to the CEO, right? So my width of expansion at the client side is not the CMO only. There is a battery of people that I need to think through. If you look at the role I play today, I cannot necessarily have all the conversations with the CMO. I need to have some with the tech guy, some with somebody who's looking at a digital transformation within the organization. And hence, I think my ability to expand my, client net across a lot many more stakeholders. Of course, the CEO is important because he calls the shots, but he has today, right and left of him, the CTOs, the CIOs, the CDOs, because he is also obviously looking at the pivot of his business as well. So that's the other dimension where I feel that it's not only C-suite today, but a lot many more that you need to connect with to kind of drive your business.
Yeah, every business is a digital business, every business is a technology business in so many ways. Staying on that, one business which has seen and continues to see a great amount of disruption and change is retail. I want to talk about Q commerce with you. Not just becoming very popular with consumers, but also with advertisers. Interesting source to reach out to potential consumers, right? You see apps like Blinkit and Zepto reporting phenomenal growth. Zepto achieved 300% growth in advertising revenue. Keeping all of that in mind, how are you adapting CXM for this rapidly evolving sector? How are you helping clients navigate this shift from a traditional retail to these digital experiences that we see now?
So, you're right, Vishal. Platforms like Zepto, you're right, 300% growth in terms of advertising revenue. They're evolving very, very fast. So I think at Dentsu, when we look at our CXM strategies, they are really designed also to be fast and adaptive to this landscape, right? They can give you 10-minute stuff into your house. You also need to really figure out how adaptive and nimble you are. So we look at deep data insights with creative innovation to craft really what you're talking about, the seamless phygital experiences that build the convenience of digital with the immediacy of physical retail. Because even for Zepto to come and give me that delivery in 10 minutes, just to pick it up from the physical store, come back and kind of pull that into my house. So that journey is online, offline, both merged together in some manner. So navigating this shift from traditional retail to phygital means we are rethinking commerce end to end, which includes, like I said, your supply chain. There is a media activation that you're doing around it. There's a customer personalization. Okay, Anita in her house seems to be calling 4 times in a week Zepto with these kind of products. Can I already, fill in the card for her and saying, do you want to kind of repeat these things? This is what you see as observation as consumers, right? So this omni-channel engagement is really becoming important. So our total commerce offering that we have, it integrates the strategy, it takes technology, creative and media, and we finally look at saying what is the holistic measurable impact that I can drive for my client and my client's businesses. We also have a practice which actually focuses on QCOM, and this is for brands and other advertisers. They want to look at this platform, marketplaces, to try and drive growth for their brand and businesses. So we have expertise over there as well. So for us, for clients, it's really around how do you translate the real-time responsive campaigns that you look at in the retail space. And I talked to you about, how we're working in with few of the retail partners, one large, retail store where we are actually monetizing their retail inventory for them as well. And there are quite a few of multiple other retail app clients as well, which we are helping them saying you have strong data, can we help monetize that for you? So we give all of those opportunities for our clients to kind of figure out, can I power those, personalized consumer journeys with advanced analytics in place? So my role is really saying, can this disruption of the QCOM space really give opportunities for brands, to get speed, precision, innovation, and of course the nimbleness to stay ahead will be coming to you purely from the agility with which you show how you can craft and rechange and redeploy your media investments. So those are areas in the QCOM space that, some we've worked with, some we are working with right now as well. And in certain cases, equally also helping them monetize their piece.
Anita, business transformation is a newer remit for many agencies. What does BX mean for your clients, and how do you ensure media and creative play a central role in it?
So, business transformation for our clients means more than just incremental value. We're about fundamentally reimagining their business model, cultures, and the customer engagement that they need to do in this rapidly shifting, let's say, marketing and technologies that we're really seeing. For us at Dentsu, the BX opportunity is for brands to disrupt their categories, create new revenue streams, future-proof them by aligning their strategy, culture, and tech with real human needs. We ensure, the point that you asked about between media and creative, we ensure that the media and creative are really at the heart of this transformation because these elements emotionally connect with the brands. They move people and they help us accelerate impact. Creativity is, not just for advertising. When we talk creativity is about designing of new products, it's about the new services that you can pull together. It's about the customer experiences that you can create and how do we then inspire change at a larger organization level. And media then is used essentially to amplify these through innovations in the right moments with the right context, making transformation really visible and tangible to the business and to the consumer that we are targeting. So, this deep integration that we are talking about between media, creative, tech, and consulting, this is really what's making BX more real and measurable for our clients.
But why would certain brands would like an advertising agency to reimagine their business model? Just trying to understand what would advertising agencies bring to the table.
So there are a couple of things, right? Let's say an absolutely traditional side of the business wants to now move into digital completely. For him to work in with an agency who does digital transformation services, intuitively is a great value that he sees on what I, as my agency, is going to bring to transform in saying from an offline channel, I'm going to make you an omni-channel player. Let's say to another brand, it is about saying, all the product categories that I am selling today seem to be losing share. Are there newer set of categories within the fray of business that I am in that you're seeing the trend on? And can you give me enough, ammunition for me to go back with a business plan to my management to talk about the fewer, newer, categories that we're doing? So we do a lot of work in, you know, I think data is at the heart of what we have as agencies, whether it's business data, client side data, media data, a lot of the other kind of data, right? There'll be e-commerce, there'll be industry data, there'll be sectoral reports, all of that. And then you have talent, which is really seeping into that data to understand the business requirements. So there are instances where we've been able to, give a go-to-market strategy to a brand which says, I'm very strong over here. I'm relatively weak in these markets, or I'm in only N number of markets. Now I want to expand to Y number of markets. Can you give me a scientific representation of which market should I go to? What is the potential that you see in that market? And out of the five which I have to choose, can you tell me the first two that I need to go to? Now, all of this, Vishal, has got a lot of the work that we anyways do, right? In terms of understanding of data, understanding verticals, understanding the categories that we operate in. And of course, we then also buy out certain amount of data to try and saying, for the recommendation that I give you, do I have enough ammunition to kind of back it up with data driven, recommendations? So that's the reason why I'll say they'd still come to us, with these kind of services. And one other big differentiated services within the BX practice that we see, which you would be seeing a lot in the marketplace, is purpose-driven advertising, right? So we have Dentsu Good, which is essentially our brand, which does everything to do with, the SDG goals, the 17 that are there. Does a brand or business want to activate any of that? So we have an entire framework for sustainability planning. And we also have partners within that space. For example, carbon emission. Can that be calculated? There are companies which are now coming in to give you richer insights around sustainable goals that you could take, whether it's water conservation, plastic conversion. All of those pieces are areas that we've actually expanded our repertoire to understand a lot better, because we genuinely feel this side, this sustainability side, you will see, and I'm looking at it more coming in from global, moving into India as well. A lot of the larger conglomerates will get into this space, will see value, and hence purpose-driven planning is something also which we see, which is part of our BX services.
And I would imagine, especially for a startup, to work with an advertising agency on some of these goals would be less intimidating. There is so much of experience that advertising agencies have in terms of working with a broad swathe of clients, industries. There's tons of experience, of course. Anyways, moving on. In the retail and commerce space, Anita, what innovative models have you seen brands adopt to blur those lines between shopping and storytelling that we all keep hearing so often about?
Vishal, this part of shopping and storytelling is a really new piece that even we are observing in the marketplace, right? So, if today you look at the retail and commerce landscape, the most innovative brands that you are seeing are not just selling products, right? They're saying we want to create an immersive experience for, the consumer and for the shopper at every touch point. And if I'm able to do that, I'm able to get him closer to me. The chances of him picking up my brand or my products is that much higher. So we do believe that the lines are blurring through omni-channel strategies. So you're bringing them together with that. So you're combining not only the in-store experiences, the digital storefronts with personalized content. I think those three amalgamation or trinity is playing a great part in that. And brands are embracing this dynamic retail, media network, where we are looking at their first party data. So, Google is a walled garden, Meta is a walled garden, Amazon is a walled garden. Tomorrow you will see a Reliance being a walled garden. You will see other retail players saying that, like a Chroma or any of the large stores who has got 400, 500 stores, etc. They will also become what you want to say is a walled garden, entity for themselves, and they'll use advertising also as a means to make revenue. So that is the shift that you're seeing, the retail transformation that you will see, which you see in the West with Walmarts and Targets becoming full-fledged media houses. The same is going to be seen in India as well. So this phygital piece is really going to be working very, very well. And I think we're proud to say that the first, this phygital component of the retail environment, we've done it for one of our electronic brands, and we're also doing the app side of the story for them as well, to saying how can we use your data, monetize it better for you, get you clients where you could get the inventory sold to, and try and work around that. So we've done this for a couple of brands, and we genuinely believe that this transformation that's going to happen is going to be big catalyst for change. Retail is going to be one big piece in the next 3 to 5 years, which we will see really evolve. And we don't want to be seen as just participants seeing this change happening, but we want to play our part. We want to have a role in that play. And hence we are trying to go to, understand a lot more on retail and retail marketing. We want to guide brands around the complexity around this and help them, create retail experiences. So we have expertise in AR, VR, the tech enablement that we can do. And we can also tell compelling stories. It's about simply saying, why do you have a bland product catalog? Why can't you have an immersive experience of your catalog that you're doing? So we're doing work in and around that, which is making differentiation for the brand and the business.
Sure, makes sense. I've been reading about this facility you have. Can you help me understand what role does Dentsu's Innovation Lab network in India play? What role do they play in developing retail and commerce solutions?
So see, Dentsu Lab is the forefront for us, which is our core commitment when Dentsu talks about it. We emphasize innovate to impact. And I think that's the calling card that Dentsu uses. And our launch of the lab is a pivotal expansion of our global innovation system. So we have it across multiple markets. It's established in Tokyo, we have it in London, and the India lab, which we launched, it's just deepening our ability to co-create solutions which are grounded in human empathy. There's a cultural richness to it, and there is cutting edge technology. So we look at all three components beautifully to try and craft some very sound, work for clients, and I'll talk about one or two of them as well. So we work very closely for building this lab with clients, with startups, and a lot of partners across lots of sectors. We prototype a lot of those solutions as well. We test them out, we prototype them, we pilot it, we see whether it's going to be working for a client and a client's business. So unlike your traditional hubs, which you just talk about in theory what is happening, this is actually building the innovation within the lab. So we have startup tech players coming in, whether it's to IoT, whether the AR, VR, the AR, VR experts, the mixed reality experts, they all come in. Simple stuff, even as data visualization, that itself also today is an art. So a lot of those people kind of come in. So the lab for us exemplifies, our unique strength, saying you connect technology and context and create immersive experiences which will cut across everything. It'll cut across retail, it'll cut across sports, gaming, the events. Today, you could have some really great innovations, tech innovations within events and beyond, right? For examples, innovations like drone powered public safety solutions, emotionally intelligent connectivity technology, or AI powered storytelling. We've used all of this by taking the lab's expertise, combining technology with cultural relevance.
What's the current revenue split between media, creative, and CXM at Dentsu South Asia? And more importantly, how do you see that evolving?
So, while I can't disclose the exact revenue numbers, Vishal, but what I can give you is a directional story. So, today, of course, our business in South Asia is still anchored in media and creative, with CXM is a smaller but the fastest accelerator growth in our portfolio. The media continues for us, it delivers the scale that we need. Creative gives us the high value differentiator from creative tech combination that we use. And CXM for us represents the future of how brands will connect across the consumer journey that we're looking at. So this mix is evolving. And for it to really transform and converge, we're looking at four to five core priorities, which will cut across creative, media, and CXM. I think the first one that we'd really like to talk about is the Performance 2.0 story. We have two very strong brands, iPro and Socrati, which do fantastic work in mid and bottom of the funnel. So we are reimagining performance marketing itself. This is not an update. It is just, it's a complete reinvention of the practice powered by AI, data, and automation. Those are the three core pillars. With we have close to about 800 certified experts, and we are driving this measurable ROI conversation on precision marketing, where we are focusing on growth strategies, we are focusing on the experience transformation for brands, and we are also looking at the performance agility. And the start of this reinventing of the performance marketing mandate, we are already seeing delta efficiencies on our existing clients that we are doing perf marketing work on. And I'm talking delta by a huge number. So we are pretty excited about how we are reinventing the Performance 2.0 space. The second one we spoke about a little earlier, which is the retail marketing expertise that we're really talking about. So like I said, we've pioneered the first media monetization solution for a large brand. We're committed to going to other retail players as well. And we are very, very confident of our ability to move the omni-channel strategies to store of the future designs. We are setting trends and we're just not really saying responding to them. So we are very, very focused on saying the retail and retail marketing expertise is something that should be a strong play for Dentsu in the future. Then there's obviously, I think everybody will talk about how we are strengthening their commerce solutions, right? So it's not an option today, it's actually a necessity, right? So we have our total commerce solution. We're building the end-to-end capabilities across creative, tech, strategy. And we're ensuring that our clients scale up from the first click to the final conversion. So that's a big play in total commerce that we have. And I think if I say the foundational layer for all of this is really around attracting and growing talent. So none of these new age things that we are thinking about can happen if you don't upskill existing talent and you don't hire the talent with the expertise that you need to scale up quickly. So we are doing both, right? At a ground level, we've got in Dentsu what we call the Fresher Accelerator Program. We've hired, close to 100, students. And the kind of hiring today that's happening is very different from the conventional hire from a media campus, etc., and all of that. So you have your engineers, you have your coders, you have your tech experts who are coming in from ground zero to do a lot of work in AI, automation, data transformation. All of that is something that we're doing. So I think the future of our revenue mix, I'm sure, is going to, like we said, the accelerator needs to start growing leaps and bounds. And that is what we really want to do. We want to scale the CX and commerce business far faster than what we would like the media and creative businesses to, kind of scale up. So for our clients, it is, the solutions have to be integrated, they have to be measurable, and they have to be future ready. And these three seem to be, areas where most of the clients are looking at trying to see the delta jumps. And for us, it's not really saying, okay, we're going to keep pace with the change, but are we the ones who are leading this change? And hence our desire and ability to invest in these is far, far higher than what we would possibly do, let's say, with the conventional or the old school model of, advertising agency ecosystem that earlier on existed. So
Right.
that really helped.
Because you were just talking about it, makes me think and ask you, what do you think is the future of performance marketing? Not just from a Dentsu point of view, but overall.
So, Vishal, one thing I'll say is when I say performance marketing, it's not necessarily the mid and bottom funnel performance marketing. Because today, when you say performance, it's performance of a client's business outcome, right? Now, whether it is the top funnel performance that he needs to get, the mid or bottom, performance is agnostic. For me, I have performed as a brand in business, KPI or the business impact, the first caveat that I pull in together saying when I say performance marketing. For that, the biggest differentiator that you need to figure out on performance marketing is really around the data and analytics strength or depth that you have, right? So today, when we do media mix modeling, or I say market mix modeling, it gives me answers not only on the media investment and what worked, what did not work. It also gives me across the 4 and 5 P's of marketing into saying, what did the consumer promo do? What did the product differentiation? Was the pricing strategy changed to, etc., and all of that. So at the heart of performance is the measurement of delivery, which is going to become my holy grail. I am able to give you answers using my mix modeling, saying which media or which marketing mix lever worked better for you. And going forward, how do you kind of change it? So that strategic part, which where over here the data and analytics or the MMM story becomes a core part of our BX offering as well, where we've actually productized our MMM offering. So it's inbuilt into my performance marketing. So you are able to see real-time results at one go and you're able to do fluid investments and changes to your plans on the go. That's the differentiator. So the tools that we develop or the tech that we are building to, drive one goal, client business impact, and that goal is sacrosanct for us. All other tools, tech, automation, development is happening to go to that end goal. So there we are doing a lot of work specifically in the measurement on data and analytics space to add a lot of value on saying what is the ROI that a client got on that business.
How do you structure client teams and offerings to ensure cross sell opportunities without diluting your specialized expertise? The first half of our conversation focused on the integrated setup that you have at Dentsu. So, how are you setting up your client teams to ensure there is no dilution of specialist practices?
So I think at Dentsu, our approach to structuring our client teams has been, a careful striking of balance between integration and specialization. right? And where I'm saying integration and specialization is, integration is that client leader who's trying to integrate all the capabilities. And the specialization is the depth of the domain guys who need to come in to kind of integrate with the client leader. And this is guided by a, what we call as one Dentsu operating model. This is our design that we have kind of created. It's the design is done in such a manner that you break the silos and you create seamless collaboration between creative, media, CX, commerce, or all our capabilities. So the way, Vishal, we are structured, let's say I'm a client leader in my team, everybody forming that core team for us. And we then are able to kind of stitch and integrate very well. So I need the depth, and that is there in my team. I'm not waiting for that expertise to come in. I'm structured and wired in a manner that that team cohesively spends time immersing themselves in the client's businesses. And then we brainstorm as a few key leaders into saying what are the 3 or 4 big shifts that we can do on a client's business that we are able to pull that. So the ODOM structure is really around saying, let's not dilute the expertise that we want, but we have to orchestrate it where the specialized domains will retain the depth and rigor. They will work in with the cross-functional pods, which have been tailored for clients. So we have client groups that we have created. Within each client group cluster, all the domain specialists sit within that. And this allows us to actually leverage the full spectrum of capabilities that we have built. So the cross-sell opportunities, the genuine collaboration that is needed, it's not forced. It's already bundled into the structure, right? And I think over here, I would definitely like to, credit Harsh on emphasizing this importance of this, aligned structure with a shared purpose, because he's always told us that you will be able to put processes into place, you will be able to unify technologies, you will come back with client solutions, but to be cohesive, to be more impactful, you really need to figure out is the orchestration between clients, the clients as in the client spokes who are working on the client's business, and the deep specialization. When they come together and co-create what is required for a client's brand and businesses, you will really get a delta pull on it. So the collaboration is, it's collaborative, yet it is a specialized structure for us. We respond rapidly. We look at the business challenges. We look at saying, okay, this is a business challenge. What is the integrated growth opportunities that we can unlock on our client? And then we take the right combination of the expertise who needs to come and play. And it's not necessary all capabilities will get activated for a client, right? I may choose to say this one requires a great piece on gaming, content, social in a big way. In another case, it will be the data and analytics story, which will be a great one. Somewhere it's really going to be saying, I'm talking about efficiency. So give me the entire spiel for efficiency. So we play around with that orchestration. But what is important is that you're structured. Your design is structured for you to not be dependent, but cohesively integrated so that you're able to drive your piece better. The siloed part that we were talking about, which needs to come together, we're seeing that I feel we do have a market advantage because we've done this structure far earlier compared to what I'm seeing today, any of the other agency holding companies putting together right now.
How do you measure success beyond that top line revenue? Are there any other KPIs that are capturing long term client value and retention in that integrated model that you have?
Yeah, so if I have to look at this integrated model, then my success metric cannot just be a top line revenue or the fact that, I grew, a certain amount of business with a client. I think my success is really going to be measured by not the short term gain that I got out of a project from a client, but it's about how do I build a larger enduring client relationship. And I'll build this into, 3 pieces, which I think are intuitively imperative from a success metric. One is around being, client centric, and hence what KPIs I'll look at over there. The other is around operational efficiencies and what I can do there. And then the third one is really around the financial metrics. So let's come to the first one, client centric, right? We usually have what we call is an NPS or a TRR score. Here is where we ask our clients to rate us on a 1 on 10, saying what is the rating that you will give us for servicing on your business. and they give us an answer. Now, in this integrated model, my NPS score is also going to be broken sub-service. How much on creative, how much on media, how much on CXM, how much on commerce, so that I get to know where are my services doing well for the client and where is it that he is suboptimal. So that's the first part that we pull. The other one is really around client retention rate, right? Or the tenure with which the client is with me. If every time my client over the contract period finishes and I continue to retain the client, I think that gives you enough ammunition to saying I'm doing great work with the client and hence I'm retained. I'm showing him the changes, I'm bringing him the right things, so that's happening. Tenure again becomes a great one for us because if you continue to service a client for 15 years, 20 years, and the client is still happy with you, that means you're on your feet. You've ensured that the client delight continuously happens. So that gets taken care of. The third most important one, and I've seen this happening, whenever my NPS or my TRR scores are high, Vishal, my ability to cross-sell and upsell is very high. So my expansion of services across different verticals that I am today building in, if I have a score of 7 and 8 above in my TRRs, my tendency to get projects across my new services strengthens for the client. So this is at the client metric end that I look at, saying, okay, is there an expansion or a share of wallet expansion of business that I've been able to get for my client? Now, when I come to the business side of things, it's really around saying it's not about that campaign customer acquisition cost, right? It's really about the customer lifetime value that I'm created. So if I measure the simple ratio between CLV to CAC, I will get some answer into saying how much of the repeatable long time business that the client is doing with me. And if I'm able to do that for my set of clients, I'm able to do better. The other one is really about the market share growth, right? If I'm able to give them the market share growth that he's looking at, it's a clear indicator of saying that things have worked for us. And then there are the softer ones like, brand equity, which is, how do you do brand lift studies? Is brand favorability getting built up? And I think on the operational side, I'll come back on two, which is really project profitability for the client, right? And over here, you're really talking about, can I look at beyond the top line, revenue that I'm looking at for the client? Is his business more profitable? Has he been able to get a lot more out of us? And have I been a great partner for him? And the last one for me on operational efficiency is this team integration score, because we talked about an integrated team. So if I don't do a team integration score, it is higher the team integration score, better the client will say that I'm integrated as an agency offering for him. So if I capture that as a value, I'm able to understand how well I'm performing on my integration story. So those are the KPIs that I would really look at when we are, building this.
Anita, what do you think differentiates you and your team during pitches? How do you plan for the win? Are there any demos or plans that you do to differentiate yourself in the marketplace?
So I think our pitch win story is also built on transformational thinking, which is what we bring onto the table. Tools and tech that we bring onto the table, the differentiations that we are able to say how are our tools and tech superior compared to any of the other agency operating companies or brands or businesses. The third in around the trading part that we are really bullying, the trading inefficiency that clients look at, that's the third part that really comes in. And the last one I'll say is the talent that's sitting on the table. So when we go in for a pitch, the team that's going to be working on the client's business is the team that presents the strategy. So be very clearly showcase within that pitch to the client. Here is the talent, here is the team. This team that's presented your strategy today is the team that's going to work on your business. On the tools and tech front, we demo them live in certain cases in our pitch conversations. So, or our second invitation to them is come and have a tool demo across our offices and we'll run you through. Every output that we've shown you is not out of a black box. You can come play around it yourself and realize that these are tools live in action, because we've seen a lot of conversations around, people showing fancy tools and tech, but in reality, when you're working on it, they don't sometimes exist. So we do tool demos for our clients as well. And the transformational thinking really comes from our BX and analytics practice, where most of the pitches today that we answer, we are able to quantify the business impact that we'll be able to give to the client. So I think those are the 3 or 4, areas that we work around with, which help us, win the pitches that you've seen. And there is enough in media on the ones that we've won using this as well.
You had mentioned in the earlier part of our conversation about business accelerator, and I've read how Dentsu's Media Plus Plus approach positions media as a business accelerator. Can you share a case where media thinking unlocked unexpected growth for a client?
So I'll give you one example for one of our tech brands where we are working out our Media Plus Plus Accelerator approach, built a larger marketing intervention program for the client. And as part of the integration between creative, media, content, social influencers, the delta uplift that the client got for his marketing intervention program was almost 3x of what he would have otherwise got had he just done pure play advertising.
In what ways are global trends like AI driven personalization or the cookie-less future we keep hearing about? How are these trends reshaping media planning and buying in India?
So see, our data-driven approach or data-driven marketing, as we call it, is core to navigate everything that we are doing across the trends that you see in AI, right?
Right.
Whether it's AI-driven personalization or whether it is the cookie-less future, which is reshaping, media planning and buying in our country. We are using our analytics platform and our proprietary tools. We dive deep into consumer behavior to create what we call precision targeted strategies and that move measurable impact. And I'll give you three pieces of work that we do. It used to be a broadcast area where you would earlier on when we started in our industry, you put the ad in front of the customer. Then we moved to the precision era, which is really around the signal and the performance marketing side of things that you were able to do. Today we call the third stage the algorithmic era, which is really the algo is really driving the larger thinking. So everything to do that where AI is enabling us is something that's coming to the forefront. So AI is enabling us to move beyond audience segmentation to hyper personalization. We can create ads, we can resonate with individuals. I can take real time insights, I can do predictive insights. So it's not only optimizing my budget, but it's giving me strong engagement. And when I come to the cookieless world, I think our solution, when we've looked at saying what is the orchestration that I will do when we have this cookieless world happening, we're looking at everyone's talking first party data and the fact that it's going to become integral. But we're also talking contextually relevant signals, because if you have cohorts and context in place and you have AI powered model to build robust privacy compliant consumer profiles, you will be able to get a lot more delta going. It'll maintain your effectiveness and it'll also respect, the privacy which you need to, take care for the regulators. So that's the part that we are building in. So we are prepared for both eras. The fact that cookieless will happen and how first party and context signals will become our calling card.
Over the course of our conversation, we have discussed many of your emerging service lines as well as areas where you are firmly established. We have discussed PX, CX, we have discussed commerce, tech. Which one of these you see as an important revenue driver over the coming couple of years?
So, Vishal, I'll not like to put out saying this capability and this practice is the one that's going to drive the revenue. Let me put it saying if I want to become the trusted growth partner for the brand that I'm working in, which needs agility today, it needs innovation, it needs strong consumer understanding. I would like to be measured. The progress is, am I looking at his business? Am I delivering impact for him? And what are my cultural metrics over there as well? So on the business side, I'll say, okay, like I talked about, the client retention, the revenue growth can come in from all my services. It could be CX, it could be BX, because that suits that particular brand. But it could be social and commerce and content, which could, dial up some other brand. So I'd like to see the repertoire of my clients that I have, the KPIs that they want me to drive and I want to drive with them only after I've immersed myself in their business. And once I've understood their business and I've put myself in their shoe, I think what I need to drive with which practice comes later. That comes way beyond for me. But if I'm able to craft something superbly straight off where, let's say, a client wants influencer marketer or influencers to sell directly, and if that's the calling card for his business outcome, then that will become an important part for me.
What a perfect answer to cap off our conversation, Anita. Thank you so very much for being so generous, for being so kind with your time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Vishal. Most welcome, and it was a pleasure doing this.
Good chatting with Anita and getting a glimpse of what they are trying to do over at Dentsu. Next Sunday, the Indian AdGeek flies back in with our favorite guest, if I can say that. Ameya Joshi from Network Thoughts. That would be the auspicious episode number 51. If you have enjoyed this episode, do not forget to hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might enjoy it. The Indian AdGeek streams on all major podcast apps. Anita is at Kotwani11 on X, and I am at Vishal1 Mehra. Until next time, I hope you all have a great Durga Puja and Navratri celebrations. Keep your creative antennas tuned, your AdGeek flag flying high. Stay quirky, stay curious, and keep geeking out.